Hey y'all, today we help Priscilla overcome 5 fears that hold entrepreneurs back.
Welcome to the Flip Lifestyle Podcast, where life always comes before work. We're your hosts, Shane and Jocelyn Sams. We're a real family that figured out how to make our entire living online. And now we help other families do the same. Are you ready to flip your life? All right, let's get started. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Flipped Lifestyle Podcast. It is great to be back with you again today. Super excited to welcome another member of the Flip Your Life community onto the show so that we can help them take their life and their business to the next level. Really excited to introduce Priscilla Yocum to y'all. Priscilla, welcome to the Flip Lifestyle Podcast.
Thanks, you guys. This is so surreal.
Yes, it is great to have you here. And we always get kind of tickled when people say things like that because we're just, we're just a couple normal people from the great state of Kentucky.
Sitting around in our pajamas talking to you today.
We really are. I have not even brushed my hair today. I'll just be honest. So
and that is why we podcast instead of do videos.
We are very happy to have you, though. We're happy to have you as a part of our community. And we want you to tell everyone a little bit about you and your background.
Well, thanks so much, you guys. I mean, I listened to you. I've been listening to you guys for almost 2 years now. So that's the surreal part for me. But in my everyday life, I am a professional organizer. So I started my own service business in 2010. And I absolutely love what I do. I help families organize their spaces for functionality and to better their routines. And I've loved doing it. But since I started my business, I added 2 children to my family. And
which can disorganize things very quickly.
Oh, yeah. It's made me a better organizer for sure. Because they bring a whole new world of challenges. And that's what I help our families. So I'm kind of in the thick of it with them. And so I identify with a lot of their problems. But one thing that I've found in my business that's made it more difficult in recent years is that I don't want to prioritize my service business over my children. And that's really hard when you're a one-woman show not to do. And so when I started listening to you guys, I didn't really connect the dots that I could at all transition my business online. But the more I started thinking about it, the more I started feeling like it was a possibility. And so in about the last year or so, I've kind of been thinking about how I can scale my business better by adding this online element to the knowledge that I have. And I felt like you guys were the perfect place to help me do that. And so that's kind of how I got here.
That's awesome. So as a personal organizer in your service-based business, I would assume that you literally go into people's houses, look around, create a game plan, and then do you help them actually do any of the physical organizing, or is it up to them? Like what does that look like? Because it's definitely a time for dollars business, correct?
Yes, exactly. It's time for dollars. If I don't work, then I don't make money. And if I don't work outside of the home, I don't make money. So I physically go into my client's home and I assess the situation. And then I come up with a game plan. I've been really lucky that my business is 100% referral. So usually if I've gotten that far, I'm for sure doing the project. And then what we do is we schedule as many days as needed for the project. There have been some projects where I can get them done in a 4-hour period, and then there are some that take 40 hours.
So do you ever walk into like a hoarder? You ever been in like a house and you're like, oh no, and like you walk in, it's like they're like, yeah, I'm a little disorganized, but then you walk in and there's 17 boxes of stuff in the living room. There's a room with all laundry, but there's a bed under it somewhere. Have you ever hit that before?
Well, luckily my business is referral, so you get a lot of business. So no, the answer to that is no, I don't get a lot of that.
Dang, I was hoping for a good story there.
I have had 1 or 2 situations like that, and I don't feel equipped to handle those projects, so I've turned those down. But what I do get a lot of are moms who are so tough on themselves. They call themselves hoarders. And I walk into their house and I'm like, why am I here? Like, what is the problem in this house? They start opening drawers and cabinets, and I'm like, oh, right, okay, this is what's
now I see.
Yeah, that's kind of like my house. I always like people who do this job because I feel like I'm a pretty organized person, but then I watch these people who do this like on YouTube or, there's now like Netflix shows.
What's that
organizing.
Netflix show called? What is that girl's name?
Marie Kondo's.
Yes. Like it's like
tidying up.
Yes, like everyone's obsessed with her right now, right?
She's amazing. She's like the fairy godmother of my industry.
So right. I look at things like that and I'm like, oh, wow, I thought I was organized, but maybe I'm not as organized as I once thought.
I'm in a mastermind and a guy watched that show the other day on Netflix. One of the guys gets on our mastermind. We have like a little circle where we can leave messages and talk to each other. And he goes, dude, I just watched a show on Netflix and I immediately cleaned my garage and sold all my stuff. Like he spent the rest, he watched it like in the morning and just spent the rest of the day cleaning out his house.
I love it.
Yeah. So do people pay you by the hour or do they pay you by the job? Like, how does that work? And then like how many hours, like I guess that just takes up a full-time job every week, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, so I don't work more than part-time because I prioritize my kids. My husband travels 2 to 3 days out of the week. So I'm kind of a one-woman show with my family as well, and part of the time. And so I only work part-time. I'm just coming off of maternity leave, but before maternity leave, I was working about 20 hours a week with clients and within their home. And then usually there was about 5 to 8 hours of back end stuff that I could do, while the kids were napping or sleeping or whatever. So yes, I do charge by the hour. I've kind of played around with charging by the project, but that doesn't necessarily work with organizing because some people are very quick at editing and others are not. So I found that an hourly rate was the most fair to me.
Yeah, that's easy to explain to people too. Oh, it's this much an hour. Let's just get in there and see how long it takes, right?
Totally, yeah.
So basically what you have been, the reason you're kind of going toward this online thing is not that you want to even give up organizing. You just want to be able to scale your income, but you physically don't have enough hours to go get any more jobs. And I'm looking at your sheet here and it says you really don't want to hire other people to be organizers under you because you don't really like building. You don't want to build a business like that, correct?
That's right. So I've done that before. I've had assistants. I had a team of 3 assistants at one point. And, it's just so stressful. You're responsible for, you guys know this. You have people that, work for you. You're responsible for other people. And, my number one priority is my family. So I always felt like I was being torn in, different directions. And so scaling that way, which I know a lot of professional organizers do, is scaling with a team. But my family's so young, I really just can't focus that way. So for me, scaling online to share my knowledge is something that would be much more reasonable.
I totally understand what you're saying about working with people. That's something that's really stressful for me. I know a lot of people love working with a team and they love team building and all that comes with it, but I am just not one of those people. I like working by myself and, I think that there's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that.
Like you just have to realize what works best for you and you have to run that way. And that's kind of the way that we've decided to build our business. So
we actually rewrote our core values a couple months ago. And one of our core values in our company is scale income without hiring people whenever possible. Like we literally wrote that into our core values because it was like, because I do have a lot of friends and like, they believe in, the most important job of the CEO is to hire the team and to hire great people and great people grow your business. And we just don't want that, even if it prevents us from going to another level, like
thank you for saying that.
Yeah. You do have to have some support, either
right.
Part-time contractors. Like we all do that. We hire things out maybe by the job, by the task. But we've got people that work with us regularly. But right now we were up to the point where we had 14 people working with us and we have scaled back now to 2, not counting our personal assistant in the house. So it just wasn't, we didn't like it. We did not like it. And maybe that will keep us from becoming a $10 million company someday, but who cares? We have a peace of mind. We have time with our kids. I got up this morning and played Chutes and Ladders with my kids, right?
I love it.
So it's like, why does it matter if we hire 75 people and, we have this big company? Like that's not what success has to look like. And everyone out there listening right now, you have permission to grow your business without hiring a bunch of people.
And the way that you want to do it.
Thank you so much for saying that, because for me, I feel like everything that you consume, all of the business development stuff that I'm consuming is saying, be a leader, lead more people. And I'm like, oh crap, I'm not a leader. Am I bad at business?
No, you're not. That's a great point. You don't even have to be the leader of all the things in your business. There's sometimes we just turn things over to a contractor. They do it in 3 weeks and we're out and we don't have to deal with them anymore. Right?
Knowing your strength.
Yeah. And it's actually just doing what you want to do. Jocelyn and I like interacting with people online. We like to do a podcast. We like to do our forums. We like to get emails from our exclusive members. And we have a little Voxer program. One thing that Jocelyn and I really, really don't like to do all the time is one-on-one coaching. On a call, where we have the schedule and we get up and there's 5 people there. And everyone told us, well, you can't do high ticket offers without one-on-one getting in people's faces and being, there with them. I'm like, yes, we can. We invented a new program. We use an app called Voxer. It's like walkie-talkies, and we talk back and forth to people. And we were like, we don't have to make appointments. Our calendar doesn't fill up. So if the kids have practice, we can go to it. And we can do it from anywhere. So you can invent any online business structure that you want as long as it works for you. And that's what everybody else really needs to do.
Okay, Priscilla, you're just getting started online, and we actually selected you for our podcast from our community. So we have different areas of discussion, and you had recently gotten on talking about some things that you're working on. So tell us a little bit about that. What have you been doing so far?
So I've mainly been working on my lead magnet, and I toyed around a little bit with the idea of making it a video, but then it was getting just too long. So I decided to make it a simple checklist. And a big thing in organizing is spring cleaning. So it's just a simple annual spring cleaning checklist, kind of master list for the house of things that you wouldn't normally remember to do. And so now I'm just trying to figure out how to best get it out there. I already have a website for my current service business. There's a blog attached to that. I also have an Instagram audience, a small one, and some Facebook followers, and a very small email list.
Okay, let's talk. All right, let me get some mindset. We're about to get into some deep stuff here, but let me just talk about this. You don't have a small list. You don't have I'm looking at the numbers here. You already have 144 subscribers. Your open rate is 55% average, which is insanity. That's 75 humans paying attention to you, right? You have 700 and something followers on Instagram, 500 and something followers on Facebook. Jocelyn, our first email list that we ever emailed out to was only 200 people. But it was 200 real people who bought Jocelyn's product and made almost $3,000. So don't think that's small. There's probably hundreds, if not thousands of people listening right now that are like, dang, I haven't even released a lead magnet. I don't even have an email list. I'm not even started my Instagram. That's amazing that you're at the very beginning of your journey and you already created that kind of audience.
Yeah, and I love how you just decided, hey, I'm working on this video lead magnet, but it's not working for me. I don't like it. It's too long. So I'm just going to do something else. Some people would just stop right then and be like, oh, this lead magnet thing's too hard. Can't do this. I'm out. But you didn't do that. You said, okay, well, this is too hard or it's too time consuming. So I'm going to do something else.
Yeah, and you've actually taken action. That's the people we love to talk to in the community. We saw you in the forums working through this lead magnet, getting this thing done, bouncing back and forth between, I think I'm going to do a video, but then the video didn't work, and now I've got this thing. And now you've actually got content out there. You've got some people paying attention to you. And really, we're just going to figure out how to turn that into an actual income. Okay, before we get into your deep technical questions about, the business stuff, I want to talk a little bit about fears, obstacles, and mindset issues that usually hold entrepreneurs back from whatever they're doing online, because, these are the things that actually stop us. Usually the technical stuff you can fight through. It's just a matter of grinding it out. But sometimes those doubts, those disbeliefs, and those things internally inside of us or externally that are trying to hold us back are what really stop people from being successful. So when people fill out the form, the come on to the Flip Lifestyle podcast. It's like, hey, what's a fear or a mindset issue or an obstacle? Something that's holding you back.
Most people, they might list one, maybe two, but Priscilla, she's an
overachiever. She's organized. She's got 5, and it's like a bulleted checklist. Like you can see the personal organization of your fears.
Shane was so we did this like podcast intake form, and earlier Shane was just kind of like reading it out before we got on the phone call, and I was like, okay, check. I feel like I was playing like online business bingo,
Right. He's
like, okay, here's this mindset.
I think these are the 5 biggest fears that everybody has, right? So, bingo, got it. All right. So we have a bulleted list. So we're going to, normally we tackle one fear on the show. We're just going to have kind of a lightning round of fear and obstacles here today.
We like to over-deliver.
We're going to over-deliver today. So get back, guys. Everybody out there, I guarantee you in the next few minutes, you're going to hear a fear or 5 that you have holding you back right now in your life. Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do is we're going to read the fears to you. Okay. And then you take us and give us a little more information about the fear. And then we're going to talk about like some strategies maybe for overcoming it.
And we're not hating on you.
Not hating on you. We're all happy. Everybody has on me.
The entertainment.
Everybody. That's right. Okay. All right, Jocelyn, let's go to fear or obstacle number 1.
All right. So number 1 is, hold on, I got to scroll just a little bit here.
There's so many fears. We had to scroll back up to it was below the fold.
No, in fairness, I had accidentally closed the calendar.
Okay.
Number 1, I know families need my product, but I'm not sure people are willing to pay for it. I find a lot of what I would sell for free on Pinterest, blogs, Instagram, Facebook, books, etc.
Okay, so that's kind of a fear of maybe people won't see the value in it. So where does that come from? Tell us a little bit more about why that's holding you back.
Well, I think really where it comes from is I'm a pretty resourceful person on my own. And so a lot of what I've learned, I've had to learn by going on Pinterest and reading tons of blogs and observing the way other people do things. And in my mind, other people do that too. And so I'm like, why would they pay me for the knowledge that I have around this if they can go and do what I did, which is go onto Pinterest or blogs or, get these ideas themselves.
Yeah, I think you and Jocelyn might have the same brain cells because that's one of the things that really gets her fired up is, well, I just go figure things out like trips and whatever. Like, why doesn't anyone else do this?
Yeah. Right. So there is this, I don't know if it's a book or a system. I don't know. But anyway, it's one of the personality assessments. I can't remember which one, but like you basically identify as like a quick start or, a fact finder, and I'm a fact finder. It's the one with the numbers. I can't remember what it's called, but anyway.
Enneagrams?
No,
is it the
I don't think
Enneagrams?
it's the Enneagram. It's another one that has
whatever.
anyway.
It's one of those things that tells you like your basic personality traits.
Yeah, so I'm a fact finder, and those things are really interesting to me. Like I love to Google search. I love to dig in and research things and like find out all the information. And I feel like there aren't really a lot of people like that. And I think I never realized that for a really long time. I just kind of assumed that everyone else was like me.
Except Shane, because Shane's I'm a quick start.
Yeah, that's a given. But I just kind of assumed that everyone else was like me. And as I started in business, I realized that most people just want to have things handed to them. They don't like to dig in and do the research. A lot of people don't. There are some people who do. And they will probably never buy your product, but they're not your market.
That's right. There's 80%, and this goes back to it. There's fears are always defeated by truth, right? And the problem is sometimes we're in the forest and we can't see the forest for the trees, and we can't see the truth. The truth that beats this fear almost every time is that people are not buying your content. Okay, what they're buying is leadership. What they're buying is curation. What they're buying is someone who's walked the path to show them the potholes in the road. That's what everything is. Like, you don't really sell courses. You create courses, but then you put the courses together to give a system to people that they can follow without having to go research it for 4 hours. Okay. So like, that's what the Flip Your Life Blueprint is. We have so much content in the Flip Your Life Blueprint, right? There's dozens of courses. Yeah. Thousands of conversations and comments. There's so much stuff in there. But that's not why people like the blueprint. They like the blueprint because it says at the top, step 1, watch this video and do it. And then it says step 2, step 3, step 4, and it just guides you through the process without you having to look it up, without you having to go search for everything and watch the magician's hands and totally deconstruct exactly how all this stuff works, right? And if you embrace that truth, you realize people will pay for the process. For example, I bet there's a lot of people out there who have thought to themselves, and you may have thought this in the beginning, is anyone really going to pay me to come in their house and help them sort their junk drawer? Like, right? Did you feel that when you first started doing it? But that wasn't true, right? Because they didn't want to organize the junk drawer. They wanted to pay you to help them do it. And it's the same thing with online business. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So people will pay for this. We actually have seen other community members in a similar space create products in this world, and it's worked. Okay. So we'll talk a little bit more about what this looks like. All right. So fear or obstacle number 2 on the organized checklist.
I'm scrolling again. Okay, number 2 says, I'm not sure I'm tech savvy enough. I built my own website, taught myself MailChimp and some other tools, but I feel really overwhelmed by online business terms and tools. Doing keyword research was a challenge. Is that a red flag?
Okay. Priscilla, you literally said, I don't think I'm tech savvy enough, but
I have learned 67 tools.
However, I built a website, taught myself how to integrate MailChimp and other email tools, and I've learned a lot of other tools. But this one tool gave me a little speed bump. Is this a red flag? Do I need to turn back now? Right?
Priscilla, it's over. Sorry.
Yeah, right. Look,
just kidding.
Listen, the tech stuff is so funny because if you think about it, every piece of technology that we encounter, we have to learn it. Like, you didn't know how to use an iPhone when you first got it, right? Like, I didn't even, back in the day, I remember when I got my first flip phone. I got the Razor, that Motorola Razor, but I
was going to say back in the 19s, but it wasn't.
No, it was like the early 2s or whatever it's called, the aughts. But so I got this thing, but like I didn't know how to text on it. I had to figure out that you had to type the words, and you had to
hit the button three times
before it switched over. But like everything is new. Everything is totally new. And like, you figured all this other stuff out. Why couldn't you figure the next thing out? Or if you can't figure that out, you just find another path and use another tool, right? What hung you up about doing keyword research? Was it the tool, or was it the process of finding good keywords for your brand?
It was both. So initially, the tool was set up for my service business, and the keywords are different for this than my service business. So changing the keywords alone, I found it difficult, and I'm like, this cannot be this hard. Like, why am I having a hard time with this? And then once I got it, I was kind of clueless as to what the data was pulling up. Like, what am I looking at here? What is this 2-point whatever number? So
what tool were you using? What tool are you using?
Google.
Oh, the Google AdWords keyword tool. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then I found a video on YouTube that kind of broke it down, and I still feel like I don't fully understand it, but I've kind of narrowed in like what is a decent range versus, that didn't get any, keyword searches. So then that's probably not the direction.
Sure.
But yeah.
Yeah. See, like what I heard there, like you may not have a full grasp of what you're doing with the keyword research tool, but you're doing exactly what it takes to overcome the tech fear. You're wrestling with it, right? Like that is I can do as many courses, like we got tech courses in there about WordPress. We have keyword research stuff. It's more strategic, not exactly with those tools, right? But like until you actually get on the bicycle and try to stay up, you're never going to be able to ride the bicycle. You can watch a course about how to ride a bicycle. You can have someone sit over coffee and tell you how to ride the bicycle. But until your butt's in the seat and your feet are on the pedals, you're not riding a bicycle, right? And what happened when you learned how to ride a bike? You fell. I remember what happened when you learned how to drive a car. I remember that. Let me tell you a story about me driving. All right, so I was learning how to drive a car when I was like 16, right? And my dad had an office parking lot, and he was like, we bring 2 cars over to the parking lot, and I had to practice parallel parking, right, before I could go take my driver's test. So Dad's like, all right, look, you got the whole parking lot. I want you to just, get used to it in here with nobody around you. I'm going to go inside and we'll do some paperwork, get some stuff done. So I've got one of our cars right beside the other car. So, I kind of parallel park once and mess it up. I do it again, get way far. And I'm like, man, I'm not close enough. I can't get to the car. So I get a little closer to the other car and I cut the wheel. And I'm not kidding you. The one car went under the other car and lifted it off the ground. And I was like, oh no. And I pulled it back in drive and I hit the gas and I pulled off and I just heard this big kaboom, kaboom. And the other car fell to the ground and started like popping like somebody was hitting switches in a rap video. And it was great. It was insane. And I looked around. I was looking over at the window and Dad was looking down at his papers. I got out and made sure somehow it didn't barely do anything but like scratch it a little bit. But somehow I got the car under the other car and like literally the whole thing. And I was like, oh my gosh. But I eventually figured out how to parallel park. I passed my driver's test, unlike my wife. And
hey,
and I was able to do that, but I had some problems figuring out the new tech. You know what I'm saying? So, that's how you beat the tech challenge is you don't try to figure it all out. You just go play with it. You break stuff, you put it back together, and eventually that fear will go away and it'll start serving you better. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Fear number 3. Scroll the checklist one more time.
Okay, I didn't have to scroll too far. This one's kind of short. Okay. It says, I am a perfectionist. In other words, procrastinator / scaredy cat.
Why do you think you're a perfectionist? And also, why do you think it's related to being a scaredy cat?
Oh, well, I mean, come on, let's be real here. Anytime somebody has to have something perfect, it's because they're afraid if it's not, they'll look stupid. I mean,
Yep.
there are very few people that are perfectionists just because it just bothers them if something isn't just right. I think a lot of times, at least for me, it's related to, oh man, I don't want egg on my face here.
Yeah, and listen, maybe we should start a support group, Priscilla.
I think you and Jocelyn definitely need to start a support group because you all have the exact same request.
I'm pretty sure that we're the same person, and I'm sorry about that. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so, all right, I'm with you. I think mine a lot of times is fear of what might happen if it isn't, quote, perfect. That's a lot of what bothers me. I don't know if that's what bothers you.
Especially when you're trying to meet external expectations. I think Jocelyn wrestles with that more. And I think you do too a little bit hearing these fears because it's not necessarily that you're not going to get it perfect. And I would say in your own life, you might be a little more forgiving as a perfectionist, but it's like, what if it's not perfect and the other person expected perfection? Or they always
disappointed.
Yes, right.
And for me, it's about, okay, if the results don't turn out the way that I think they should be or the way someone else thinks they should be, what might happen then? It's like that fear of something unknown to me. And I don't like that. That's why I try to very tightly control things, which is not a good thing. Yeah,
it's why I don't let Jocelyn read emails that I send out before I send them because Jocelyn will spend 4 hours. Well, the first thing she does is she has this superpower where she can look at a 5,000 word block of text and go, there's not a period in sentence 38. And she can just like, you accidentally used a there instead of there, like she can just see grammatical errors. So she can process the whole thing.
It's sort of like they blink red to me. I don't know. Like I can just.
It's a gift.
Yeah,
yes, it's a gift. It's her gift.
It's a very annoying gift and a very annoying superpower to people. That
the most annoying superpower you could ever have. Right?
So, you have to have those people in the world.
And it's funny because I'll send an email and Jocelyn's like on the list, so she'll see it after the fact. And she'll be like, "Really? You sent this to humans? Like you let people do this?" But like I'm kind of like, whatever. 90% of people are like me and they don't even read it, Maybe, and I'm kind of like, all the grammar Nazis will just unsubscribe and leave. So it's okay. I'm just kidding. Don't unsubscribe and don't get mad at me if you love grammar. Jocelyn loves grammar.
If you get an email with a misspelling or incorrect pronunciation, just know it wasn't me.
It was not Jocelyn. Yeah. She actually at one point wanted me to put down at the bottom, like typed by Shane. Like, so no one would judge her for any of my spelling errors, right? Because I signed things Shane and Jocelyn. So anyway, but the point is, like, it is those external expectations. That's the fear here. Like, that's what
I totally identify with that.
Yes. And it can make you put things off because you're afraid of getting judged. We had a problem with a local business recently, and Jocelyn had been telling me about it and telling me about it and telling me about it and then telling me about it. And I was like, can we just say something to them? And she's like, no, because then the external, conflict would come in, or the judgment, or the what if they don't agree with us, right? And I finally just sent an email because I was just like, and I sent Jocelyn a text. I said, I sent an email of everything you told me, no mercy. And she was just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you just did that. But anyway, it's like, sometimes the only way to beat this fear is to just do it and like be scared and like absorb any negativity that comes. And that's really, really hard. So being a perfectionist is really hard, but I find that the best thing to do in this situation, when people start doing things consistently, you overcome it. Like, let's say you're afraid to do YouTube videos. Let's just use this as a fear, right? Because you're a perfectionist. You want to edit them. You want them to look as good as everybody else's. The way to beat that fear is to do live Q&As or videos 10 minutes a day, every day for a month.
That cannot be edited.
They cannot be stopped. Once you turn the camera on, it goes. They may not be the best videos you could ever release, but you'll get so used to doing that thing that it'll eventually feel like habit. You won't even care anymore. Right?
And just become the person who's perfectly imperfect. That's what we try to do. I mean, we sit here and record this podcast every week, and we're very unapologetic that we're not perfect. And if you're looking for somebody who's super polished, like, we're probably not the people for you.
Yeah, we have an editor, and we have our little rig here. Like, basically we have this little bitty soundboard with 2 mics, and it's plugged into a USB port. Like, we don't have the fancy editing, and maybe our audio is not the best of some other podcast, but the point for us is to help as many people as fast as possible, right? So we don't have time to deal with the perfection and the audio files and all that stuff. Like, the content's where the money is. That's where the gold is. That's where the help comes from. And we can't be slowed down by our perfectionism if we're going to help as many people as possible.
And that's also what makes you guys so relatable too. And I guess I'll have to remember that in my business, is that really I want my audience to relate, or I want to be able to relate to them, and they're not perfect either.
Absolutely. And something that helps me a lot is just thinking about how no matter if your content or your whatever you're doing is as perfect as you want it to be, or as perfect as you think someone else wants it to be, there's always going to be somebody who's not going to like it. And it doesn't matter. Like, you could halfway do it and someone's not going to like it, or you can do it 150% and someone's not going to like it. So just knowing that always gives me a little bit of sense of ease, just knowing that, there's always going to be people out there in the world who are going to be negative about whatever it is that you're doing. You just have to brush it off and move on.
I can do that.
All right. Now that we've punched perfectionism in the face, let's go on to fear/obstacle number 4 on Priscilla's list.
Number 4, it says, until the fall when my daughter goes to school full time and I get a part-time nanny for my son, time is a major challenge. I have about 3 hours a day I can dedicate to business. Since I'm still working with clients, that time also has to be used for back office hours for my current business.
Okay. So this is the kind of fear I don't have enough time to get everything done. Is that what you're saying here?
Yeah, absolutely.
So where does that come from though? Because 3 hours is a lot of time, right? Like, if you point that way, like, what do you feel like you should be doing something else that you're not doing enough? Like, everybody has the time fear for different reasons. It might be like, I've only got 1 hour a day and maybe I'm using that and I should be holding my kids or playing with my kids or hanging out with my spouse or whatever. Or maybe I should be taking care of myself and relaxing. Like what's the fear there? Like, why do you feel like that's not enough time?
So I think the fear goes back to fear number 2, which is about the tech stuff, or not feeling tech savvy enough. It's taking me so long to learn some of these things, or I feel like it is, that a big chunk of that time that I have is just spent learning. And I know you guys say that it'll go by faster, and I believe that. And but I'm learning a lot of this on the fly, and so I feel like that's the part that makes me feel like I'm just learning and not creating. Yep. And therefore I'm not putting stuff out. And so it feels like not enough time.
Well, the fear of time usually comes from looking at other people and comparing what they're doing, or seeing what's possible, or trying to get there as fast as possible. And one of the biggest mistakes that we see beginners make, or even entrepreneurs at a higher level, is trying to get to the next level like it's a race, right? Because in reality, some people may feel a desperation to get out of their job, or a desperation to get to the next level, or they're really inspired because they see, that someone made something happen, right? But then it all of a sudden turns into a race. But it's not a race. It doesn't matter if it takes you 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years to get everything done. Everyone's going to do this at a different time frame. And everyone has to learn how to do the next step before they can take the next step, right? So it's not about like getting there as fast as possible. It's really just about getting there. In my mastermind this morning, we were sharing, like, we had one of our people in our mastermind, in my mastermind, asked, where were you 10 years ago? Right. And it was crazy because one guy was like, man, 10 years ago, I had just moved to a new town and gotten a job, and I was making $2,000 a month. I had my wife, and I was making nothing. And then he said last month was our first 6-figure profit month. But that was 10 years ago. And it's not like he was like looking at the span trying to get there in 10 years, or, it was the same journey we all take. We're inspired because we see somebody else. He had started 3 other businesses before this one worked, but he had stuck with it for 10 years and he had gotten to the promised land, right? And like, that's really what everyone has got to do. It's just like the Bible says, you got to run your own race, right? And if you start comparing yourself and you start feeling the pressures, or you start feeling that desperation, you're going to try to rush through the process and then that's just going to make you run off the rails. If the train goes too fast, it's going to crash, right? So try to reframe it as not that I don't have enough time. I've got plenty of time because I don't have to finish in a year. I don't have to finish in 2 years. I've just got to take the next step and learn it. Maybe that's what you do today. And then tomorrow you do the thing and then you learn the next step, and just slow down and get it right before you try to get it done quickly.
Yeah, and I would just encourage you to make sure that all of the things that you're thinking about are actually important. And I say this because it's something that I struggle with a lot of times. I will look and say, okay, well, our landing page has a problem. Our SEO is not 100% optimized.
You didn't put a period at the end of that sentence, Shane, when you wrote that copy.
We need to be on Pinterest posting regularly. We need to be on Instagram. We need to be on Facebook. We need to be, figuring out where we are in the rankings for this keyword. I have all of these things in my mind all the time, but they're not always important, all of them.
Especially like when you get sucked into a podcast that talks about a new tool you've never heard of. And you're like, ooh, yes. I bet that would help my business. And like, really?
Right.
I was talking to somebody the other day about needle movers. The only needle movers really in your business are that you're creating valuable content, you're getting opt-ins for leads, and you're telling your leads about your product to sell. There's really nothing else you really need to do in your business. If everyone would just do those 3 things every day, create a piece of content, release it. Make sure the content points to an opt-in. Get the email.
Tell those people
you have something for sale.
Something cool that can solve a problem.
Yeah, that's the needle movers, man. All this other stuff. Yeah. After that, if you've got time, you share it on 100 social media networks and you do all these other things. But like, focus on the needle movers so you're not caught up in learning so much stuff, right? Stop and learn it when you go. Yes, exactly. Yes, that's all you got to do. Okay.
Got it.
All right.
Fear or obstacle. We've made it to the 5th thing on the list, and then we can get back to technical questions. Okay. But we're busting through the walls of fear today, y'all. So what is fear number 5 on the checklist?
All right. It says, I'm not sure if I should create a course, just sell products, add a membership, etc. The content has to be easy to digest, yet actionable.
So like, is this basically you've got your lead magnet and you're kind of not sure what to do with what to sell to them?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like my avatar is somewhat unique, and I'm sure everybody says this, but busy moms tend to have very little time. And I see it a lot in my service business where follow through is really difficult. So a course sounds great, but then, my worry is, will they complete it? A membership sounds amazing. But then my fear is, will they interact with it? And so I guess it's kind of a fear that I'm not going to create the right content for my avatar.
This is actually a really common fear that a lot of people get stuck at this point. They're like, okay, what are they going to buy? Right. And there's 2 parts of this, and some of this is going to sound counterintuitive. Okay.
Okay.
The first thing you do have, one, it is awesome that you're thinking about how your people are going to consume the content, right? That's a big deal because you do have to create something that people can get results from, or why create it, right? You got to care about how your people's success. Now, the problem is when you go too far down that rabbit hole, you take all the responsibility from them taking action and put it onto you. And you hold the weight and the anxiety of all of that. But here's the truth. It is your customer's responsibility to take action on what you're giving them. It is not your responsibility. If you buy a jug of milk, it's your job to drink it before it spoils. That's the truth, or you wasted your money, right? And anyone who's going to sell online has to realize that maybe half your people may not take advantage of what you give them. They may come in, they may buy your thing, and they may just not use it. And that's on them, because all you can do is show people the path, right? You can't make them walk the path. It's the old horse to water. You can't make them drink, right? So that's how you overcome this fear, is to realize that in any time you're coaching or teaching or providing a course or a membership, your half is to give them the opportunity. It is their responsibility to take advantage of that opportunity.
So the amazing advantage that you have right now is that you already have an audience. You have people following you on email. You have people following you on social media. The best thing to do, honestly, is just put it out there and say, hey, guys, I'm thinking about creating something real cool for you all. And I was just wondering what would be the most beneficial to you. Here are a couple of ideas I have. What do you think about these? Or do you have any additional ideas?
And also not getting caught up in what other people are doing, right? For example, like we sell video, we have video courses with PowerPoint slides, right? But if you'll notice, inside of the Flip Your Life Blueprint, we also have MP3s that you can listen to the course, right? We also have workbooks that you can download and write in and print things out. Okay. So, you say people are busy. Well, what if your entire product that they bought from you was literally podcasts they could listen to on the way to work, on the way to the soccer game, and it was telling them what to do when they got home to organize something. And then it was like a Facebook group that they're already on, they're already on Facebook. That's where your community lives. Like, it doesn't have to look like what the experts do, or me and Jocelyn, or anybody else. Like, you can, if you talk to your audience, you can build the product that they will consume they're more likely to consume, right? And then you overcome this fear in two ways. What product should I create? One, what do your people say they want? Two, I am not responsible for their actions and success. I'm only responsible to lead them and give them opportunity. Once you embrace those two things, it's pretty easy to get over the fact and just go create the product instead of sitting around and worrying about it all the time.
That's so helpful.
All right, Priscilla, I hope that you feel a little bit better about some of these fears and mindset struggles. And please don't think that we are picking on Priscilla, because we did ask her if it was okay to kind of poke fun at her a little bit, and she said
it's all her fault. She's the organizer, and she sent us a checklist, and we got to go through the checklist. That's just the way it is.
So we are now going to jump into what you have been working on and how we can help you move forward.
Thanks, you guys. I actually, hearing all that back to me actually made me laugh too. So I don't feel picked on at all. And I just hope that it helps some other people out there who might have at least one or two of those fears. And so what's next for me is I have this lead magnet now, and I need to figure out what's next. Where do I focus next? I think it's creating content, but I'd love to hear from you guys where you would go.
The thing that we always say is product first, right? And one of the when we say product first, what we mean is you create a lead magnet, which is a product that you exchange for contact information, and you create a product that you can exchange for money. Okay. So you've got your lead magnet, you're getting emails, you're getting a social media following kind of built up here. The next step for you is to go to those people that are following you. And for anybody listening, I don't care if you've got 10 emails or 200 emails or 2,000 emails. If you have 10 people paying attention to you, you've got an audience, right? Let them kind of tell you what they need. Like, what should the course look like? Ask them specific questions. Do you want a video course that shows you how to organize your kitchen? Do you want me to do some kind of virtual coaching thing where we FaceTime and you walk me through your house and I create a plan for you from the comfort of my own home? Do you want me to create audio files that you can listen to and then take action? Or do you want to actually see me cleaning a house and fixing up the organization in the bedrooms? Like, go to them and ask them what they want and then create the smallest version of that product so that they have something to buy.
And always remember that just because you ask someone a question or they give you an opinion, it doesn't mean that you have to do it. If they say something and, 10 people agree that they want to see you do ABC and you don't want to do ABC, then don't do it. I think sometimes people feel a little bit of pressure when they say, okay, what do you want me to do? And, if Shane and I were to ask that, a lot of people would probably say, do one-on-one coaching. Well, we don't want to do one-on-one coaching right now. So we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
So, ask people, but then also determine based on what they told you, like what fits in with your life and what you want to do.
And the key here, again, is like create the simplest version of that product that you can put a price tag on, right? I mean, it may be something as simple as people want to know how to organize their bedroom because they feel discombobulated and uncomfortable and they're not resting well because they don't have this oasis to retreat to at night, right? Could be something like that. Like maybe you just create that. You do a 1 week bedroom challenge. You have a video that shows you the 10 steps of straightening it, and you just make that and charge $25 for it. It's just something to make money, right? But get your product done, because what happens is when you have a way to get leads and a way to sell something, now you have a place to point all this content you create to. And that's how you make money online.
Okay.
And realize that it's going to evolve. Like this is not the product that's going to call the shot for the Babe Ruth home run. This is the first product. And then you'll learn. And then you'll make the second iteration. And then you'll learn. And eventually you'll have this big thing that can be sold for a couple $100. It's really convenient for your audience. It's convenient for you. And all of a sudden you've got a way to scale that income past those 20 hours that you're actually able to work a week.
I like that a lot. I feel like it just took so much off of my plate or off of my shoulders, hearing that I don't have to make the big product right now.
No, you just have to make the Jocelyn created the biggest product I've ever seen when she made her 1 year of lesson plans, right? But she did it 1 month at a time and sold it 1 month at a time. And then the next year,
I had the whole package
ready to go. So people think we just wrote a bunch of lesson plans in a month and we sold all these things. That's not what happened. It was like a 1 year epic process plus an entire summer of putting it back together into something that could be sold in a big product. So it's like, this is a process. It's not a race. When you're done, you'll know it because things will start happening. You just have to slow down, take the next step, and get something for sale. Once you get something for sale, it's off to the races.
Okay.
All right, Priscilla, normally in this part of the show, we ask people what your action step is going to be, but I'm actually today going to give you some homework. And your homework is to ask your audience what they would like to see from you as a paid product.
And then you will know your next step and you can go build that thing for them and put a price tag on it. And like, honestly, I'm challenging you to have this done in like 30 days. Like put a time limit on yourself, get this first thing done and out there based on that feedback and see what happens.
And he's just talking about a product, not the final product, right?
I got it. Yeah. I think I know I can do that.
All right. We're excited. Can't wait to see what happens next.
Well, listen, Priscilla, thank you so much for being on the show today. Man, this was, we always thank people for being so transparent with their fear, but you were transparent with like 5 or 6 fears. So thank you so much. Like, I'm sure that everybody out there listening probably got so much value from this show, just being able to bust through those fears and ready to take action for themselves.
And I feel you, sister. I'll see you at the 12-step program. Okay.
Thanks, Jocelyn. I feel like I'm in good company.
Wow, what a great episode of the Flip Lifestyle Podcast. Man, it was awesome going through all of those fears that were holding Priscilla back, but they really hold us all back. Just slamming those fears in the face over and over and over again, guys. If you can get over your fears, if you can get over your obstacles, you can do all of the other stuff that really makes it happen in your online business. That's what we do inside of the Flip Your Life community every single week. We work together to overcome these fears, push through all of the obstacles, get all of the little things done that build a business, that build a life that change our family's future. And we do it together. We would love to help you get past your fears, obstacles, any difficulties you're having in your entrepreneurial journey inside of the Flip Your Life community. You can learn more about the Flip Your Life community at flippedlifestyle.com/flip your life. We have courses and trainings and a community that is constantly talking about how to get past these things and how to get to the next level. We'd love to have you inside there as well. That's flippedlifestyle.com/flipyourlife. All right, guys, before we go today, we'd like to close with a Bible verse. Jocelyn and I draw a lot of inspiration from the Bible, not only in our life, but for our business. Today's Bible verse comes from Proverbs 13, verse 11, and it says, "Dishonest money dwindles away, but whoever gathers money little by little makes it grow." Just like we talked about in the show today, guys, it's not a race. Baby steps will get you closer to the goal than no steps at all. The point is to move forward little by little until we find that success, until we flip our lives and we change our family trees forever. That's all the time we have for this week, guys. Until next time, get out there, take action, and do whatever it takes to flip your life. We'll see you then.
Bye.